The NDP officially launched its leadership race this week after a devastating defeat in the last federal election. Former leader Jagmeet Singh resigned from the role after losing his seat in that election, and Singh wasn't the only one who lost his spot in Parliament. The NDP went into the election with 24 MPs, and they came away with just 7 MPs, with the party receiving just 6.3% of the vote. Candidates looking to throw their name in as the party's next leader will have some hurdles to clear, including paying a $100,000 entry fee and gathering 500 signatures from party members. The leadership campaign is set to last for about 7 months, and the results will be announced at the party's convention at the end of March. Don Davies is the interim leader of the NDP, and he joins me now. Don Davies, good to see you again. Thank you for being here, sir.
Great to be with you, David.
So the countdown is officially on to the end of your reign as the leader of the NDP. How important is it for your party to get this right if you're going to bounce back after that election result?
Well, I think it's very important. This is an exciting time to be a New Democrat, and it's a great opportunity for people in our party and progressives across this country to engage in a vibrant democratic discussion about the future of our party. And I think the opportunity to build a strong progressive option at the federal level. And I'm looking forward to a really rigorous democratic debate and hearing a lot of really creative ideas from people across the country.
So it's a 7-month window here for the contenders, whoever they will be. We've heard Avi Lewis, we've heard Heather McPherson's name. Eve Engler has already said he's going to run. We don't know exactly what the final slate is going to look like. But where do you need to be by the time the winner is announced at your convention in Winnipeg to push back into the mainstream of Canadian national politics? Because you're strong at provincial, it's the federal level where there's a problem.
Well, I think the NDP is a staple of federal politics. I think we are in the mainstream right now. I think our voice is as needed as ever. I think a lesson and a message I heard loud and clear during the last federal election is that Canadians do not want a U.S.-style two-party system. I think it's a strength of Canadian democracy that we have a diversity of parties and a variety of perspectives expressed at the federal level. I think it makes for stronger governance. So, I think reimagining what a strong federal NDP looks like at the federal level is going to be a challenging and exciting opportunity, and I think something that'll benefit all Canadians of all political stripes.
What does a stronger NDP, reinvigorated NDP look like to you? I mean, where do you think you need to be philosophically, ideologically, tonally, and on message?
Well, the NDP was formed, David, as you know, in 1961 by workers, for workers, to fill a void at the federal level. The Conservative and Liberal parties are corporate parties. They are brokerage parties who basically advance policies that benefit the corporate sector and the wealthy in this country. They're open to working people, of course, but the NDP is a party expressly designed to bring the voices of working people to the federal level. And so I think reconnecting with that base, rediscovering our roots, and listening to working people, meeting them where they're at, and expressing their priorities at the federal level is a big part of it. There's also a lot of marginal voices in this country that are not expressed, that I think the NDP is uniquely positioned to bring to the fore. And without the NDP there, those positions are not expressed. So I think there's a critical role the NDP plays in federal politics. And, we're facing an unprecedented threat from the South at this time. And I think having progressive solutions that only the NDP really promotes, affordable housing, strong health care, good family-sustaining jobs, better foreign policy, right, a diversified trade, strong, sufficient Canadian economy are things that the NDP will champion and help make our country meet that challenge.
But you talk about the party's origins going back to 61 and the focus on workers. The Conservatives have really eaten a lot of the NDP's lunch with private sector unions and some skilled trades, for example, in southwestern Ontario. We saw what happened there on election night. Have you strayed too far from that as a party? There's been some suggestion that there is a tension to some degree between that working class focus and, say, the issues of urban progressives and trying to cater to one, caution with the other.
I've talked to a lot of New Democrats of all walks of life over the last 4 months, and I'll tell you, it's unanimous that the NDP is the party of working people, and we do need to reconnect and rebuild that relationship. There's no question about it. But, we've never strayed from it. Our policies have always been strongly working family oriented and worker oriented. We're the only party that has an impeccable record in supporting union rights. You just saw Mark Carney order striking flight attendants back to work after hours. We're the only party that stands up for free collective bargaining on a consistent basis, that supports the right to strike and supports unions. So people know that. I think the Conservatives try to appeal to workers on socially conservative issues, and they have some success at that. But I think on fundamental economic matters, issues that are kitchen table issues that will improve Canadian workers' lives, the NDP is the only party that consistently can be relied upon to do that. But we have to reconnect with workers, and I think we have to build that relationship in a stronger way than has happened in the past.
Right. I mean, the 6 to 7% of the vote, I know this was a very unusual election this year. I think that is safe to say. But, that's a pretty low point, right, that you do need to come back from to be competitive and gain a meaningful perch in the House of Commons. So you'd said in the past that the NDP must do an honest inventory of its past performance. Is it that working class reconnection and refocus that you took from your honest inventory? I mean, what should the party have learned?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. There were a lot of externalities in this last election. We had the specter of Donald Trump. I think a lot of Canadian progressives did not want a Poilievre government, and that caused a lot of New Democrats and supporters to lend their vote to the Liberals this time. I don't think it's a fundamental rejection of NDP values or policies. But I do think that we have to clean our side of the street as well. It's an opportunity for us to re-examine our messaging and to, I think, to do a better job. So of expressing, I think, where we've always been and where we need to be. I will say as well, though, that there's an ebb and flow to politics, David. I remember when the Conservatives went down to 2 seats. The Liberal Party went down from 3 majority governments to third party status and 34 seats. So parties go up and down, and I think there's an opportunity right now for the NDP to reimagine what a bold, progressive option looks like for Canadians, and it's an opportunity for us to, examine our core policies, to examine our messaging, to reconnect, and I think that's exciting, and I think we're going to come back stronger than ever.
Right, but it was the progressive Conservatives that went down to 2 seats, and that party didn't survive over time, right? It eventually had to reconstitute and merge with Reform to become the Canadian Alliance and then become the Conservative Party of Canada. So, it's not always a straight path, any kind of a comeback, right?
No, it's not, but it does show that, political brands change, names change, seats change. But I'll tell you, the New Democrats have been a staple of Canadian politics for the last 60 plus years. I think we're needed more than ever. We're the party that's going to fight for a strong healthcare system. We're the party that's going to fight for strong family sustaining jobs. We're the party that's going to fight for affordable housing, all of which have been failed so utterly by the 2 establishment mainstream parties. So our voice, I think, is needed now more than ever. And I think that this opportunity to retool and to reimagine is going to be a pivotal point in Canadian history. And again, I have no doubt that the NDP is coming back stronger than ever next election. Okay, well, Don Davies, interim leader of the NDP, good to speak with you, and we'll speak with you when you're back in Ottawa for the return to Parliament. Thank you, sir.